Marvel fans, comic geeks, and all the nerds in between. My name is Megan with Vigilante Vibes, and we are going to talk about a character today that is everywhere because she's shrouded in mystery because of Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 4, Gloves Off. We're going to talk about Vanessa Fisk. Who is Vanessa Fisk in the comics, and what happens to her? Vanessa first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man number 70 in December of 1968, but just as a cameo. But her first full appearance was in Amazing Spider-Man number 83 in January of 1970. Vanessa first met Fisk when she was just 15. She'd been brought to him by his crew of thieves to be sold as a slave on the black market. Even though she was scared, lost, and suffering from amnesia, Fisk noticed her natural grace and inner strength, qualities he'd always wanted in a partner. They quickly formed a bond, and before long, they were married and genuinely in love. Now, this is obviously very different from the show when she was much older than 15 and worked at an art museum. It's not said how old Kingpin was when they met. That I'm aware of. I could be wrong. But I doubt he was 15 as well. So take that for what it is. Vanessa loved Kingpin very deeply, even if she didn't always agree with his criminal lifestyle. They did have a son together named Richard. While she was pregnant, she once held a sewing needle to her belly, terrified of bringing a child into such a violent world. When Richard got older, they sent him off to Switzerland for his education. Eventually, Richard came back and tried to take over his father's empire under the name the Schemer, confronting both of his parents. But this story is not about Richard. Fisk was very possessive of Vanessa. At one point, she was lost in the sewers of New York and believed dead. Daredevil ended up rescuing her from the sewer ruler known as the King and brought her back to Fisk, but only after Fisk agreed to pull his corrupt mayoral candidate, Randolph Cherry, from the race. Later, when Vanessa fell into a near coma and even the best doctors could not help her, Fisk took extreme measures. He kidnapped the blind wife of a famous French psychologist, forcing the man to cure Vanessa by making him feel the same desperation and fear. To keep things secret, Fisk used a small-time crook named Turk as a middleman, but Turk's sudden wealth drew Daredevil's attention, and the kidnapped woman was rescued. You probably recognize the name Turk from the Luke Cage series. So, there's that. Hey, look at that. When Vanessa finally recovered, though, it was absolutely not the recovery Fisk was expecting. She was terrified of Fisk and desperately wanted to escape. Daredevil fought his way up to Fisk's penthouse, only to learn that Fisk, out of love, had already let Vanessa go to France with the doctor. Because of situations like this, Fisk later started hiring actresses to impersonate Vanessa to protect her from kidnapping and extortion. One of them, Heidi DeVito, was eventually kidnapped and actually killed. So, that's unfortunate. But that could have been Vanessa, so. At one point, Vanessa and Wilson separated. She returned to New York after learning their son had tried to kill his father with the help of Sammy Silk. Furious, Vanessa took matters into her own hands and started cleaning up the villainous underworld, starting by killing a small-time criminal named Falzone. She then confronted Richard, and after a very tense exchange, she killed him too, Richard being her son. After that, she took Wilson away to recover. Knowing he would never forgive her for killing their son, she left before he woke up to avoid his anger. Later, Vanessa developed a terminal illness and decided to settle all of her unfinished debts and businesses. From behind the scenes, she orchestrated a complex plan that included getting both Murdoch and Fisk arrested by the FBI, faking Foggy Nelson's death, hiring Iron Fist to impersonate Daredevil, and using Tombstone and Lily Luca to send Murdoch on a chase across Europe. She did all of this out of revenge, blaming both Daredevil and Wilson for how her life turned out. Like she wasn't the one that killed her own son. It's fine. Before she died, she briefly confronted Daredevil and revealed everything. After her death, Murdoch honored her final wish by clearing the charges against Fisk on the condition that Fisk give up his U.S. citizenship. Years later, the Hand found her body and brought Vanessa back to life to test Fisk to see if he was worthy of the Hand sending her to kill him. They fought, but Fisk didn't want to hurt her. He attempted reasoning with her and tried to reach whatever remained of her old self. When it seemed hopeless, he took her out by breaking her back, only to realize too late that she had actually been trying to save him from an attacker from behind. She died for a second time in his arms, leaving Fisk devastated and pushing him even further into crime. Later still, the Jackal brought Vanessa back as a clone to try to manipulate Fisk into funding new U technologies. But Fisk rejected her completely, snapping her neck and calling her nothing more than a corrupt imitation, saying the Jackal had ruined his last real memories of her. So that's Vanessa's story in Marvel Comics. It's interesting because I think her influence over Fisk and his love for her is much bigger than her actual character, which is very different for a comic book character. You always hear about Fisk and Vanessa, but in all honesty, she really wasn't that big of a character. Especially not as big as a character as Daredevil Born Again makes her out to be. But I actually love how they gave her character so much more depth and so much more story to work with. So now that you know her background, what does this mean? Could Bullseye have actually killed her? Please keep in mind that the episode dropped yesterday. So if you're watching this after Daredevil Born Again, season 2, episode 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm wrong, I look stupid and I get it. So if he does actually kill her, which I kind of don't think so, because her talk with the mayor, the female mayor at the beginning of the episode, that would have all been for nothing. So I don't think she's actually dead. But if she is, there's always the possibility that the hand brings her back. It would make sense as to why the hand is still prevalent in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So that could always be it. It could also be something wild, like this was a Vanessa impersonator that Kingpin hired, like he does in the comics. It could be any of those things, but I think it's very cut and dry that Vanessa Fisk just doesn't just die. I mean, obviously. So there's a lot of theories that we could go with here, but I really hope it's the one with the hand, because I would love that. But I really do think she's not dead. But if she does turn out to be actually dead, egg on my face, I guess. So yeah, this was my breakdown of Vanessa Fisk. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And I hope you will like and subscribe so you don't miss anything else I put out. With that being said, have a marvelous day.